Single-coil pickups. These were popularized in the early 1930s by George Beauchamp and Adolf Rickenbacker, eventually becoming the hallmark of the Fender brand with the release of the Telecaster and Stratocaster in the early 1950s. They consist of a single coil of wire wrapped around 6 individual magnetic poles, a design that produces a bright, cutting chime with distinct note separation. This construction makes them highly sensitive to the player's touch, though it also leaves them vulnerable to 60-cycle hum from nearby electrical sources. Their sharp, articulate character defined the sound of early surf, country, and blues, and they remain the industry standard for players seeking a clear, glassy high-end. Humbuckers. Seth Lover, an engineer at Gibson, developed this dual-coil design in 1955 to eliminate the annoying interference common in single-coil guitars. By wiring 2 coils in series and out of phase, the pickup bucks the hum while also producing a much louder and warmer signal. These were famously branded as PAF, or Patent Applied for Pickups, and were standard on the 1958 Les Paul standard. The higher output and emphasized mid-range frequencies allowed guitarists to push their amplifiers into a thick, creamy distortion. This revolutionized the industry, providing the heavy, sustaining tones necessary for the birth of hard rock and heavy metal. P90 Pickups. Introduced by Gibson in 1946, these were the primary pickups for the company before the invention of the humbucker and are still found on models like the Les Paul Jr. and SG Special. They feature a flat, wide bobbin that creates a broader magnetic window than a standard Fender-style single coil, resulting in a much meatier and more aggressive tone. While they still produce a bit of hum, they bridge the gap between the thin snap of a single coil and the smoothness of a humbucker, becoming a cornerstone of early rock and roll and modern punk. Active pickups. In 1976, the founders of EMG pioneered this technology by incorporating a battery-powered preamp directly into the pickup housing. Unlike traditional passive designs, these use much weaker magnets to reduce string pull and increase sustain, while the preamp boosts the output and flattens the frequency response. This innovation allowed for a consistent, high-output signal that remains incredibly clear even under extreme amounts of distortion. While they are now produced by many brands, they remain most closely associated with high-gain genres and technical players who require precision and zero background noise. Toaster pickups. These were introduced in 1954 by the Rickenbacker company and earned their nickname from the 2 horizontal slits on the chrome cover that resemble the top of a kitchen toaster. They are a low-output single-coil design using Alnico magnets, which creates a very specific type of vintage compression and high-end clarity. These pickups produce the legendary jangle, heard on countless records by the Beatles and the Byrds. Their construction emphasizes a clean, chime-like resonance that stays articulate and bright even when played through multiple effects or a heavily driven tube amplifier. Mini-Humbuckers. These were originally designed by the Epiphone company before it was acquired by Gibson in 1957. After the merger, Gibson began using them on various models, most notably the Les Paul Deluxe in the late 1960s. Because the coils are smaller and the magnetic field is narrower than a standard humbucker, they offer a tighter, brighter sound that retains the hum-canceling benefits of a dual-coil design. They provide more clarity in the high end and a less muddy bass response compared to their full-sized counterparts. This unique tonal profile made them a favorite for players who wanted a more articulate humbucker sound without the massive footprint of a traditional Gibson unit. Filter'Trons Pickups. Ray Butts developed these for Gretsch in 1957, roughly the same time Gibson was working on the humbucker, as a solution to electrical noise. These pickups are characterized by their tall, narrow bobbins and large magnets, which produce a very clear three-dimensional tone with the signature sparkle. They are synonymous with the Gretsch brand and the Great Gretsch sound. characterized by a bouncy low end and a sophisticated high-frequency chime. Because they stay articulate even when played through a dirty amplifier, they became the go-to choice for rockabilly legends and fingerstyle guitarists who need every note to ring out with hi-fi clarity. Piezo Pickups. This technology was adapted for the electric guitar in the late 1970s and 1980s by companies like L.R. Baggs and Fishman to allow for acoustic-like tones on stage. Instead of using magnets, these utilize ceramic crystals located in the bridge saddles that convert the physical pressure of string vibrations into an electrical signal. This method captures the woody, percussive resonance of the guitar's body, rather than just the movement of the strings. While they were originally used to amplify acoustic guitars, many modern electric manufacturers now integrate them into solid body designs, giving players the ability to toggle between traditional magnetic tones and simulated acoustic sounds. Lipstick pickups. These were introduced in 1954 by Nathan Daniel, the founder of the Danelectro brand, who originally used actual surplus lipstick tubes purchased from a manufacturer to house the internal components. By placing a simple bar magnet wrapped in copper wire without a traditional bobbin directly inside these metal tubes, Daniel created a low-output pickup that was both inexpensive and visually striking. They appeared most famously on Danelectro and Silvertone guitars, becoming a staple of the era's budget-friendly instruments. This unique construction results in a very bright, jangly signal with a scooped mid-range. Because the metal housing provides a specific type of shielding and the bar magnet yields a wider magnetic window, they produce a clean, bell-like chime that remains a favorite for surf rock and retro-style pop. Gold foil pickups. These were originally produced in the 1950s and 1960s by Japanese and American manufacturers like Teisco and Diarmon. They are identified by the thin decorative gold mesh or foil found under the cover. Inside, they typically feature a rubberized ferrite magnet and a very thin coil winding. A unique construction that results in a low output signal with a wide frequency range. This design produces a clear, airy top end and a sensitive, microphonic character that captures the acoustic resonance of the instrument. They have seen a massive resurgence among modern players for their raw, vintage transparency and unique lo-fi texture. Telecaster Bridge Pickups. These were designed by Leo Fender in 1950 for the Broadcaster, the guitar that would eventually be renamed the Telecaster. What sets this specific bridge unit apart is its large copper-plated steel base plate and the fact that it is suspended from a heavy metal bridge plate. This assembly reflects and focuses the magnetic field, adding a significant amount of percussive twang and high-frequency bite. It was the first mass-produced solid-body bridge pickup and remains the definitive sound of country music, known for its ability to produce a sharp, snapping attack that can be heard clearly in any ensemble.